morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 7th day of April 2025. And it's time for us to have a conversation here with Robert Mbui, Member of Parliament, Kathiani constituency, also Deputy Minority Leader at the National Assembly. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning, Mheshimiwa. Jen Kagiri, Woman Representative for Laikipia County. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning, Sam, and good morning, viewers.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Oh, yes, it has been.
And how?
Busy weeks, but I'm good.
Okay, busy weeks, you say.
Yeah.
Hilary Sigei is the Senator of Bomet County. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Sam, and good morning, our viewers. Thanks for having me today here on Citizen in the morning.
Great, and we're still expecting Gitonga Mukunji is the Member of Parliament for Manyata constituency. As soon as he's here, he'll be joining the conversation. Now, on the Daily Nation, state jobs for those with godfathers. An MP has unwittingly blown the whistle on an issue that has been a public secret for several years, and through successive administrations, political and personal interests surpassing institutions' powers in hiring teachers, police officers, and military personnel, among others. When will this blatant nepotism that has ruined youth's lives and futures end? Is a story that you'll find on page 7. It's also one of the key, it's on page 15, the opinion pages, editorial cartoon of someone with what he used to fish, hook, line, and the sinker, I think. And then you have the hand of 2027 with TSC appointment letters. The others were asking, get us jobs, and Hakuna Kazi. We'll look at it later on page 15 of the Daily Nation. But that's the main story in the Daily Nation. On the front page of the Standard, budget betrayal, talking about the government is preparing to storm back, blood-stained briefcase in hand to wring the last drops from a crumbling economy. Budget making has moved from a duty to serve citizens into a desperate bid for state survival. They're talking about what the Parliamentary Budget Office report states. The 2025-2026 budget perpetuates past policy failures, worsening the cost of living, taxes, and public services. Instead of relief, the budget will increase taxation and debt. The two main stories of the two dailies. But also, we know that on Friday, the former Attorney General, former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, was speaking and has really informed a lot of conversation online. I want us to begin there by listening to what he had to say about the fitness of the president to serve in the office of the president.
Examples aside.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very. Yes, irredeemably.
Okay.
Corrupt. I think it's a very unfortunate situation for the country that we have William Ruto sitting in the office as president of Kenya. I think William Ruto is actually unfit for the position of president of the Republic of Kenya. I have come sadly to that conclusion.
Right, and there's so much that he said that we'll be listening to. But first, Senator Sigei, what is your reflection on what the former Attorney General had to say to Kenyans on that Friday?
Thank you, Sam. Before I make a comment on that, allow me, Sam, to send my sincere condolence to the people whom we lost on Saturday. Seeing the headline of the Daily Nation, Alcoblo set to return amid Sergeant Road carnage. That accident occurred in Bomet County. There is the boundary between Bomet and Kericho. And we lost 15 lives. Yesterday in the afternoon, I visited one of the victims. I would say my good friend Joseph Kosgei lost his wife, Madam Janet, and it was such a bad experience. I want to share the grief with not only Kosgei's family, but the rest of the 15 Kenyans whom we lost, and those who are still recuperating in various hospitals. I wish them quick recovery. This is such a very heartbreaking incident that occurred, and we hope that something will be done. Back to my reflection about the statements that the former Attorney General and the former CS has over time said. It's such an unfortunate situation for Kenya, especially to hear the former Attorney General making such comments. One would say it is not expected of him, especially being from where I sit. Yeah. You know, the former Attorney General is my senior in practice, is a lawyer. he is actually supposed to be referred to as the tutelage head. From that comment and his behavior and utterances, on the one hand, he might be thinking that he's making very good political statements, but he has lost tremendous respect that the office had given him as the President's Attorney General, Kenya's Attorney General, the head of the legal fraternity as the former Attorney General, because such utterances does not befit the office that he held.
What's wrong with the utterances?
I mean, when you get into office, there is what is referred to as official secrets, confidentiality of information that you get courtesy of your official capacity. Whether or not they are true or not true is something that you should, in a bid to protect that office and to protect yourself as a public officer, because a public officer, by the way, becomes a public officer for the entirety of the period that you have served. He was privileged to have served as one such. And I know we'll still come back to the history, because now we need to debunk Muturi as an individual before we debunk him as the person who is now making such uncalled for utterances. For him to tell us that William Ruto is a very incompetent president, and he served him as a cabinet secretary for the period that he was Attorney General and for the short period that he was the CS Public Service, he equally served under William Ruto as the Deputy President when, of course, he was in Parliament. And so it's so unfortunate that we are getting such utterances from him. And you will allow us to debunk him, to run the person, and also the reasons why he's getting to where he's getting to. He's been a privileged kid for a very long time, and he definitely didn't expect that he would be where he is now. The president told us he sacked himself. You can't absent yourself from duty. Sam, if you didn't come here today when we had organized for a program that you were hosting here, and you probably also had not shown up yesterday, definitely you lose your job. You can't come and claim that you've been sacked, because that's what he was looking for.
Okay, we'll get to that. But first, I want to understand what exactly the Cabinet Secretary was saying, the former Cabinet Secretary was saying, but also to welcome Mukunji Gichonga, Member of Parliament for Manyata. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. And we are talking about the statements of the former Attorney General, former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi. And he also had something to say about the conduct of the president during cabinet meetings.
Once, if you want to know something where he has an interest, a CS will make a presentation, and then William Ruto will take over. Say, this one is good. He begins now to explain, making sure that there is no dissent, you know?
Yeah, so he sort of was indicating that to make sure that there's no dissent, he takes over a brief from a cabinet secretary. He also said that he was at one time involved in a conversation or in an arrangement with some Russian, should they be investors or philanthropists, and that had something to do with tree planting program in the country. Watch.
I land in Dubai, Ruto is calling me. Those people, those Russians, they are there, they are in Dubai, they are waiting, you signed in. I said, you know, I'm just at the airport and I'm on transit. I am not leaving the airport.
Right.
He said, no, but they are there. Your people, your staff have already worked on the document. I said, no, I will need to go and review it in office.
This document being the deal?
The deal. They were purporting to give a grant of $1 billion to grow allegedly 3 billion trees. You know, William Ruto, whenever he comes up with a program, it's for money making. For him, it's for money making. Now, I come and tell them, you know, they bring me an MOU. I tell them, and I remember I spoke about the MOUs.
Yes.
I told them, no, it came from the Minister of Environment, which they pushed through. I tell them this thing, the $1 billion can only be by way of a grant, but it cannot come directly to the ministry because under the PFM Act, Section 47, it can only go through the National Treasury. They are trying to avoid that money goes It's a national treasury, and his money coming from abroad.
Right.
All right, Mheshimiwa Jane Kagere, what do you make of this sentiment? Because Senator Sigei says he's flouting the Official Secrets Act. I don't know how certain that is, but also whatever he's saying, if you look at it as the content of what he's saying, if these allegations are true, what then does it say about our leadership?
Thank you, Sam. First, I'm watching the former CS and just wondering if he's the same person. Because I remember we were with him in Laikipia County. We campaigned a lot. I think he was in the lead team of the Kenya Kwanza campaign in Mount Kenya area. And he came to Laikipia County a number of times and we campaigned with him. I remember, and that's why I'm saying these days we have to hold us to task to every word that comes from our mouths. This is the same CS who came to Laikipia and told Laikipians that this is the best president ever. This is a president who's going to deliver on all his promises. This is a president who's going to perform. And then today I'm looking at the same Muturi, 2.5 years later, worked in silence, enjoyed his job, where his benefits were good, he was very silent. Then I think when things have not worked out how he had wished for them to work out, he comes out and tells us, no, this is the wrong leadership that we have. So I think he also needs to be brought to task and tell us, what was he talking about when he said this was the best leadership? And what is he talking about when he says this is a different kind of leadership? Let us stop playing with Kenyans' minds and playing with their minds at the benefit of our greed and our selfish interests.
But the essence, the substance of what he says, because he's making allegations about some deals that were supposed to be signed, and actually if you listen to the next, the clip, excuse me, the clip that is just listened to of him saying that every deal you see the president's backing is because there's some personal benefit, if these allegations are true.
And that's what some have answered to. Today you can't say I'm good, tomorrow you say I'm bad. What is your interest in this whole thing? You need to also come and tell us where the goodness ended and the badness began. Because if yesterday...
People change.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying we need to put him to task to explain to us. Because today, how would you believe me, Sam, if yesterday I came and said this cup is beautiful? Today I come and say this is a very bad cup. Then explain to us what is that difference that has happened.
So you don't believe
you're the same person who said this yesterday, you're the same person who has come back and told us this today. So I would not believe anything coming from Muturi's mouth until he tells us where did it change.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Mbui, what should we do with this information?
You know, first, Sam, allow me to disagree with Jane Kagere, because she's implied that the reason that JB made these comments was because maybe the benefits he was getting are different. I don't believe the benefits of Attorney General and CS are different, very different. If anything, it's likely that being a CS is even more superior to being an Attorney General. But both of them sit in cabinet. So I don't think there's anything that has happened in his political life that has, in terms of employment within the Kenya Kwanza administration, that changed between 2022 and now. So I think really what maybe he has observed is a problem that Kenyans have gone through under the administration of William Ruto, considering also his own son was abducted, released after he intervened. So there are some certain things that are obvious, and that is what has annoyed him. But when you talk about this issue that he's raising, I think the president is a very sly politician. Before the election, a lot of Kenyans believed in him. You know, the people that are not very close to him, when he speaks out there, he sounds very good, and he sounds like I mean, he can sell ice cream to actually to someone in the poll, an Eskimo, because he's got that very good language of very beautiful language when you listen to him. But the reality is that those people that are very near him normally tell us something different. I remember the former president, because he worked as deputy president for 10 years, deputy to Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru told Kenyans that this is not the right man to be president. Now, I'm hearing the same comments coming from JB Muturi, who was Attorney General and you know, worked with him closely when he was Speaker of the National Assembly, has worked with him more closely now because he's in cabinet as Attorney General and as CS. So I'm asking myself, when you hear people saying that no, he's not telling us the truth, no, he doesn't seem to know, I listen to people that are not in cabinet telling us about what goes on in cabinet. Jane Kagere here and Hilary Sigei cannot be the ones telling us about about the president and how he runs the government, yet better than Muturi, who was close to him, who was sitting in cabinet, every cabinet meeting. And JB reached a point and said, this is not somebody who is fit to be president, and he kind of slowly opted out of this government. So I don't think that we would have more facts than they are. In fact, they say that he wears a shoe, knows where it pinches. And I think the CSs would know where it pinches. Some want to remind you that at one time, the president himself called a meeting, and then if you remember, he locked the gate for some of the ministers who came late. And in that meeting, he told Kenyans that he knows more about the ministries than some of his own ministers. Right. You know what that tells me is that he's a control freak. He's those people that want to run the show himself. He wants to make all the decisions himself. You hear the former CS, the former AG telling us that he even takes over presentations of members of cabinet. So a CS is giving a presentation. If he has an interest, he jumps in and takes over and controls the proceedings. That kind of control is a problem that we are facing as a country. A good leader delegates. A good leader is like Mwai Kibaki, Kalonzo Musyoka, when they were running the country. They allowed people, the people who are given positions of minister, to run their ministries. And that is when Kenya started healing. That's when Kenya started growing. But when you come up, you think you have the monopoly of knowledge and you're given a position and you manage everything yourself, things will not go right. So I want to agree with JB, because I think he's been there, he's been closer to the president than I have, and he's told us, and I want to believe what he has said.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Mukunji, what do you take these comments for?
Thank you, Sam, and good morning, viewers, and thank you so much. Well, I want to go straight to the question, and let me say that J.B. Muturi is a person that has served this country for very many years as a Speaker of the National Assembly for 2 terms, which actually clearly indicates that he has been a person who is consistent, because you cannot be elected, you cannot be appointed twice by an administration if you've not delivered. And that tells you, when the president referred to him as an incompetent person, it raised a lot of doubts on exactly where they started having these differences. And one thing that has been very clear in my mind is the consistency of his message. He even came out with some letters saying that I have not attended cabinet because one of the agenda that needs to be discussed is the agenda of abduction of the young people. And let me say that if there is one topic that every single government officer and investigative authority of this nation has been avoiding, is matters to do with abduction that has happened in this previous number of months. And it raises a question why. There has not been any report, and there has not been anything. First, I want to say I don't want to believe J.B. Muturi, just like that. As a matter of fact, I believe it is a very big shame that us as legislators, somebody is claiming something that shows corruption, and we are ignoring it. It shows that we are actually against what we are supposed to be doing as a legislative arm of government that is oversighting the executive. And I believe from here, J.B. Muturi needs to say more. And then we need to do what we call inquiries as the legislative arm of government. This is a senior government official who has served in both the Attorney General position and the cabinet. We cannot just be saying, he's saying things. He needs to be put on the dock. There is a need to investigate, and there is a need to actually take serious allegations of corruption.
If you got a chance, what should you investigate?
No, if you say there has been corruption in the level of the presidency of this country, there is a need to actually take it further and ensure that there is evidence on it. And there is a need to act on it as the legislative arm of government. And from that...
How so? How so?
We are supposed to oversight the executive.
Because
if somebody says he has information
the route
today,
available is impeachment.
Yes, if we get there. And you know, there is always law in this country that says that if you're caught on this, there should be investigation, and it should happen like this and that. So I don't believe it is right to just say we have dismissed what J.B. Muturi has said. And, you know, one of the things that is very clear to me is sometimes we are taking for granted matters that are very serious in this country. If somebody says an extent of $1 billion contract was being pushed, and then we say that should just, you know, that is just hearsay. No, it's not right. We should take it serious as the legislative arm of government and do investigations and ensure we come to the bottom of it.
Okay. All right, Mheshimiwa Mukunji, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll be concluding on this particular topic of the revelations by J.B. Muturi, what should happen. Mheshimiwa Mukunji says that the legislature should proceed to pursue impeachment if the sentiments of J.B. Muturi are confirmed in evidence. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment.